Hey guys, Dabu 7, June 4th, 2013, and Russia warns Obama that a global war may be coming very soon if they do not stop Monsanto. Now, for those of you that are not aware, many countries have banned Monsanto GMO foods from coming into their country. Russia, one of the largest countries to lead this pack, is saying that there are chemicals that are put inside of these agents that are killing the bees, flowers, and that just one kernel of corn that has some of these agents on it can kill a bird. One kernel of corn. You have Switzerland, France, Italy, Russia, Slovenia, Ukraine, Japan. Now you have South Korea joining Japan on banning U.S. wheat imports after shocking GMO contamination announcement by the USDA. And yes, did you hear about this on your evening news? Bet you didn't. It's why I do what I do, folks. They're out there spreading this genetically modified food in our country of America. Do none of you people realize that every other country on this planet is rejecting Monsanto? The only country that is not doing a damn thing about it is the United States of America. They are allowing this to happen. You and your children are eating this stuff. Monsanto has been around a long time. They're worldwide. And if all these people in all these countries are banning them, well, where do you think all their products are going? To you and your family. It is very disturbing. And it's so disturbing that Vladimir Putin was so ticked off when John Kerry got to Russia that he made him sit for hours while he cooled down because he was so pissed about this whole thing. Didn't even want to talk to him. Then when he did walk in the room and talk to John Kerry with his long face, he just basically went off. And he said, you can go back and tell Obama that we're not dealing with none of your stuff, none of your products, none of your imports that have any of this GMO stuff, and that if he doesn't stop it, it could lead to world war. This is real deal, folks. Because once you start planting these things and they pollinate to another plant, everything becomes contaminated. Everything. So you want to talk about a worldwide famine? They're creating it. Within 20 years, if they keep this ball rolling, there will be. By 2020, there will be a worldwide famine, and they will have control of all the world's resources because they basically gave you a bunch of fakes. Russia's pissed. I believe that you should be too. I'll leave links because this affects you and your family. And trust me, it bothers me to know that there's people in this country that don't even care about what's going on, and there's a leader of another country. He's not even a leader of our people, and he cares more than our own damn president. I'm not saying he's a god or he's an angel, but I'm telling you, he cares more than this man. The communist does. Can you believe that? Anyway, I'll leave links, guys. Y'all stay safe. Till next time, Dabu 7 with some underground world news.
Why are Russian soldiers in Alaska? Why has Obama facilitated the giveaway of 7 Alaskan islands? Why is the Russian military moving a massive military force into the Arctic? Why is the Arctic becoming a focal point of Russian industrial activity? Why is Obama dismantling the nuclear command structure of the United States? These are the dots on the wall, and this article will connect these dots. The Cold War between the United States military and the Obama administration. There is a distinct bifurcation between the United States military and the Obama administration, as witnessed by the sacking of 224 senior military commanders, which has transpired during Obama's tenure as president. Now, with the latest scandal involving 38 senior officers connected to our nuclear arsenal, the number of fired military commanders will surely grow to 262 officers. Never before has this country witnessed the dismantling of its military command structure in such a dramatic fashion. The following paragraphs will make Obama's intentions clear, as the Russian plans to invade the United States are exposed and Obama is complicit to this end. The facts surrounding the latest scandal, which alleges that 38 military commanders are running a drug operation and routinely cheat on recertification exams, seem bogus from the very beginning. First, having had a father, who was involved in the installation in the first nukes on an American naval vessel, I can attest to the fact that security surrounding such operations is intense. The military code of justice, the presence of draconian and punitive national security oaths, as well as rigid security checks for all immediate family members is intense. As a child, I lived through the security checks. The personnel in our nuclear arsenal, especially in the command positions, are routinely drug-tested by outside federal agencies, which are not under the control of the military. I can unequivocally state that there was no drug ring associated with these military commanders. Could cheating on recertification exams have occurred? Certainly, there would have been a collegiality among personnel connected to the nuclear arsenal of this country. Could lines have crossed? Perhaps, but with security the way that it is, the blatant cheating is not probable and did not occur. The competition to serve in the nuclear arsenal is intense. The men and women working in this endeavor are the best and brightest in the military. The likelihood that the senior commanders of the nuclear arsenal were guilty of these offenses would be the metaphorical equivalent of David Rockefeller getting busted for shoplifting a pack of gum from Walmart. As has been reported and documented several times before in this column, Obama does not have control over the nuclear arsenal. If the readers will recall, he has attempted to bring the nuclear arsenal under his control, as witnessed by his 2013 firings of the 3 commanders of the nuclear arsenal on such trivial grounds as using fake poker chips, whatever that would entail. My military sources have also confirmed that Obama does not have control of the nuclear arsenal. Obama's sacking of the 3 nuclear commanders did not give him the control he desired. So, the president is reaching a little deeper into the nuclear command structure, and is attempting to take out the second tier of the nuclear command structure, and replace these personnel with his own stooges. There are rumors circulating that Obama may even try and staff the nuclear arsenal with his own private army, the DHS. However, this is generally believed to be a fool's errand, because the technical training is far beyond what any outside body could hope to achieve in a short window of time. As a reminder, Dr. Jim Garrell confirmed that the military has blocked all of Obama's attempts to secure control of the nuclear arsenal while appearing on my radio show on 12/22. See the radio archives section to access the interview. Obama will find it nearly impossible to secure control of the nuclear arsenal because the most secure military operation, the security and maintenance of its nuclear weapons program, is so highly compartmentalized that Obama cannot realistically hope to penetrate and control it. However, Obama is managing to wreak havoc on the efficiency of the command, and perhaps this is the end game that Obama's Russian comrades desire. For, if Obama can weaken the nuclear weapons program by inducing chaos, the Russians would have a decided advantage in any upcoming conflict. And Russia is indeed preparing for war in the Arctic Sea below. As has been documented in this column, the Russians have, at minimum, fifth-column troops in Alaska, and Obama has compromised the military security of Alaska through a lessening of submarine patrols, the canceling the F-22 overflights and not replacing them with the F-16s, and the giving away of 7 strategic, oil-rich islands. Further, has anyone else noticed that after the intense barrage of charges against these 38 officers first occurred in the corporate-controlled media, which convicted these officers of the alleged offenses, there has been a virtual blackout on the coverage of this event? In effect, the media switch was turned on, mission accomplished by the removal of officers dedicated to not letting Obama obtain control of the nuclear arsenal, and then the media switch was turned off following this setup. Russia's military objectives follow the money, and all questions will be answered with regard to America's enemies, most notably, the Russian government and its military. A clear picture on why Russian soldiers are being spotted in many locations in Alaska is becoming transparent. The Arctic region is known to hold large amounts of untapped oil and gas reserves. The United Nations previously cancelled all previous land claims on the North Pole. This is in response to these territories being at the center of several disputes between the United States, Russia, Canada, to a large degree, and includes Norway and Denmark, to a smaller degree. This dovetails with the giveaway of 7 oil-rich islands, which should be a part of Alaska but was given away to Russia. Senator Bijak from Alaska wrote a letter in response to my claims of treason with regard to the giveaway of these islands, and said that these islands always belonged to Russia and the proof for this dates back to 1867. Then this should have never been a point of contention in the Alaska media, and it was, when the transfer was made. See the map featured below of the disputed islands, that appeared repeatedly in the Alaska media at the time of the transfer. My military sources should not be concerned with this giveaway if this was only a benign giveaway, but they are highly concerned, as they have pointed out to me, that 3 of the islands could be ideal origination points for a Russian invasion of Alaska. The other 4 islands serve to support Russian military forays into the mineral-rich Arctic region. The duplicitous nature of the Bijak letter, published by a reader, in the comment section of my website, should be cause for concern, because the emerging facts suggest that Russia is preparing to conquer and possess the mineral-rich resources of the Arctic. Operating under the notion that a picture is worth 1,000 words, let's take a look at the 7 disputed islands and Russian mineral retrieval activities in the Arctic. Alaska. To now compare the Russian Arctic mineral retrieval activities and the military significance should jump off the page at the reader. There are additional Russian Arctic territorial claims, which conflict with the United States territorial claims. Russia is making several territorial claims in relation to several Arctic shelf areas, and is planning to defend their claims to the United Nations. After reading the final section of this article, I believe the Russian intention of obtaining an approval is merely window dressing. They are preparing to take what they want by whatever means necessary. Russian Arctic oil and gas fields. For the Russians to realize their Arctic goals, Alaska would have to be neutralized, and the groundwork has been laid for this eventuality. Additionally, a successful Russian takeover of the Arctic would depend on the neutralization of America's nuclear capabilities. This objective is being carried out by Obama, as I write these words. To Obama and Bijak, I would ask both of you if this is just a misunderstanding, which can be explained away by using the word coincidence, because we know that in the shadowy world of Washington, D.C. and the corporate-controlled media, there is no such thing as a conspiracy. Conspiracies aside, Obama and Bijak will have fun explaining the following publicized military activities of the Soviet Union which never really died. Judge by their actions, not by their words. All 5 of the previously mentioned nations, along with China, have territorial and mineral claims with regard to the Arctic, and these claims conflict with each other and form the breeding ground for WWIII. The Russians are in war mode, Arctic war mode. I do not see how any reasonable person could read the following accounts of Russian military buildup in the Arctic, and not conclude that the spark for WWIII would not begin here. Russia is adding 40 new naval ships to its nuclear arsenal in 2014. By the end of 2015, Russia will have nearly as many naval ships as the United States. Retrofitted combat aircraft from Russia's Northern Fleet will extend the ranges of their patrol flights over the Arctic in 2014 using a network of revamped Soviet-era airfields. The Russian fleet's Tu-142 and Il-38 reconnaissance and anti-submarine warfare aircraft carried out over 30 patrol missions in the Arctic last year. The Russians have announced their intentions to carry out many more such missions. Ballistic missile submarines make up one part of Russia's strategic nuclear triad, along with land-based ICBMs and a Russian bomber force. The Bory submarine is Russia's first post-Soviet ballistic missile submarine class, and will form the mainstay of the strategic submarine fleet, replacing aging Typhoon, Delta III and Delta IV class boats. The creation of the Bory signals that the Russian economy is in war mode. Russia ultimately expects to manufacture 8 Bory-class submarines by the year 2020. People constantly are asking me for time frames connected to these events, and I dismiss such questions as a fool's errand. However, the deployment of these submarines by 2020 may provide a clue as to the timetable that the globalists are operating under. Oh yes, make no mistake about it, this coming war will not happen without the blessings of the bastards from Basel. Additionally, the Russians are commissioning other submarines as well. Russia's first Project 885M Yushin-class attack submarine, the Severodvinsk, was handed over to the Navy at end of 2013. This submarine has been under construction since 1993. This fact goes a long way to justify the claims made by several Russian defectors that the Soviet Union never really fell, and always planned to attack the United States at some
point. This is our home. I'm gonna fight and create chaos.
Wolverine! On Cadbury 5-Star Wednesdays, Red Dawn, this Wednesday night at 9 on Sony.
The National Guard is the last line of defense against a foreign enemy attack on American soil. If the Chinese, who in the last few weeks have been bragging about how their new DF-41 nuclear missile with a staggering 12 warheads could cripple the United States in less than 30 minutes, were to invade America, it would be the National Guard who would be charged with repelling the invasion. Yet in a National Guard drill in Ohio last year, it was not a foreign enemy invading America, but American citizens who were portrayed as the enemy. American citizens who believe in the Constitution's Second Amendment. In the drill, a fictional group espousing a belief that they had the right to bear arms were portrayed as domestic terrorists. Where exactly did the Ohio National Guard get the crazy idea that Americans who believed in the Second Amendment are domestic terrorists? From none other than our own President, Barack Hussein Obama. Obama's Department of Homeland Security produced a mammoth study, Hotspots of Terrorism and Other Crimes in the United States, portraying not Muslim extremists as terrorists, but conservatives, those espousing Tea Party beliefs, as enemies of the state. But it gets worse. Not only are those who believe in limited government and the right to bear arms portrayed as terrorists, but the real enemies, the Chinese, in fact invaded the U.S. in large numbers last year. Video has surfaced of actual Chinese troops training at Fort Shafter, Honolulu, Hawaii, seemingly with no oversight by the U.S. military. The Obama administration has claimed that the Chinese were taking part in a drill dubbed GridX-2, simulating an EMP attack, electromagnetic pulse, that took out the U.S. electrical grid, sending America back to the Dark Ages. But if this is in fact true, it makes the revelation even worse. The Obama administration released classified documents in 2011 showing that the Chinese were in fact working on an EMP bomb, so that if they were given classified information about how the U.S. was preparing to survive an EMP attack, this amounts to treason. It sounds very much like the Obama administration is colluding with the enemy. Is Obama a Manchurian president preparing for a Red Dawn-style Chinese invasion? It appears that way.
And that is Russia and China. They brought them to power. They created them. That doesn't mean that they control them, however. They've actually created independent enemies, and there's no shortage of them around the world. And, Satan is involved in inspiring evil men to rise up. A lot of people say, why can't we have peace in the world? The reason we don't have peace is because there is systematic evil in the world that will always continue to rise up. But we are having to deal with systematic evil within our own government, what I call the dark side of government. It has built Russia and China to basically tear down the fabric of the West and other liberty countries around the world, letting the globalists come in with an alternative solution to save them from communism, but ultimately not destroying communism, reserving for them the last final attack upon America, which I think is coming in probably 8 years at the earliest, maybe 10 years, but clearly into the next decade, because Russia and China aren't ready to attack the West. The entire political theater about China wouldn't dare attack us because we're their lifeblood of commerce isn't true at all. China, in fact, intends to take over the West, run its own new world order, impose its dictates upon us, and actually own the markets, not be hostage to the Western markets, but own the markets. In order to do that, they have to take out U.S. military power. But one of the interesting things they intend to do is not attack civilian cities. And this runs counter to what has been revealed or allowed to be leaked by the official China news agency about the attack plans on America, showing attacking major cities in the east and seeing that fallout rise into the west, into the east. But really, that's for blackmail purposes, Alex. In other words, the threat of attacking city has been used for blackmail to scare them into compliance or to, there's a variety of purposes prior to war, but I happen to know that the Chinese and Russian military plans do not call for attacking civilian population centers, but only military centers, and then saying to the West, now, if you want the rest of it, then I suggest that you need to succumb to our level of control. In other words, they want to blackmail the West into submission. Well, the West knows about these plans. They know that there'll be a military decapitating strike on America someday, but they intend to deceive the Russians and Chinese, who think we can blackmail us into submission by not submitting to that blackmail. They'll in fact pull out an entire group of secret weapons that they've been building and prosecute the war, but they won't do it in the name of the United States. They'll do it in the name of this new militarized globalist government that they'll talk us into the necessity of in terms of prosecuting this war. So it's important to be able to understand what's going on. Another thing that I want to point out is that the United States is focusing on China as the threat. It's very interesting that they completely negate the Russian threat, which is even greater than the Chinese threat in terms of the missile throw capability. What I think China and Russia are cooking up in this next war is that Russia's going to take the lead in the nuclear attack on America. They've got the most sophisticated weapons. They've got maneuvering warheads now. At least they claim that they do. They're building.
And China's going to be supply.
Pardon me?
Will China be supply?
Well, not just supply, but China is going to take up the entire Far East. They're going to capture in a grudge match everything from Japan down through Australia. And they're going to supposedly be the back door. But essentially, they're going to husband their missiles or keep their missiles in reserve because they basically want to take Russia down in a betrayal in World War III. And so Russia's going to use up most of their weapons in the first strike on America, depending on China to back them up if more are necessary. But I think China is going to betray Russia in this war. Join forces with the West to attack Russia's rear. Russia will be eliminated as one of the three predator powers, and then it's going to be the globalists in the West against China as the new Cold War enemy. Now, that's a very important strategy that even the globalists want, because if China's a new hegemonic threat and highly militarized after World War III, the globalists have the excuse now to keep the world military in power and not let sovereignty go back to individual nations as they did during World War II. And that's where I think we're going to lose our freedom. You talked about what all this preparation is towards martial law and through ammunition and all of the total surveillance system. I think, frankly, that it doesn't come into being or into practice, even though they're preparing for it. They're militarizing the police. They're practically giving away armored vehicles around the nation and making sure that you hire people both in the military and in civilian police that will be able to take on America, don't have any compunction against taking on American citizens. But that militarization, I think, will only go into full force once this war comes, when they'll have the excuse to implement martial law. And nobody will raise a finger of opposition because we're in a war scenario. I think what we'll see as part of the New World Order is an oath of allegiance to the New World Order. And our government will come out and say there are people in the United States who follow Joel Scows and Alex Jones and other people like that who believe that we knew about this war, that we didn't protect America, that we caused 9/11. Those people aren't supporting our troops. They're undermining our war effort. We need to lock them up and to ferret them out. We're going to have an oath of allegiance. No one will have any citizenship in this nation and in this world government unless they take the oath of allegiance. And they'll ask Americans to point the finger at those that believe in conspiracy. And I think that's when the camps will be implemented. I think that's when martial law, and that's when gun confiscation will go forth.
Let me ask you a quick question. Joel Skousen is our guest. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. His site's worldaffairsbrief.com. Our site's Infowars.com. Joel, let me ask you this point. Everything I see is racing towards demonization of the founders, gun owners, everything, the persecution of the press. It's intensifying. But what adds a lot of validity, and I'm trying to pull the articles up right now. I forgot to do it before the show. It was in the mid-'60s and again in the '70s, because I know the British declassified it last year, but I had seen this on PBS when I was like a kid. It had come out that twice the Russians came to the U.S. and said, let's make a pact, let's nuke China together, and that the U.S. Each time said, no, we're not going to nuke China with you. And that was part of the next deal when Nixon went to Russia. I know you were a Marine Corps officer and also have a lot of inside connections, but you've also researched the history. Is there truth to those supposed British declassifications?
No, I don't think so, Alex. There was never any pact between the Russians and the Chinese. The Russians and the Americans to go after the Chinese. The Chinese would be...
What's up, Jody? What's up, Lance? On That Much, going to do a spring preview for March 2012 and beyond, trying to get people in touch on what we're going to be doing for them, what shows we're going to be making, and what we're going to be bringing them. Regular shows for the regular broadcast, we're going to be doing a Second Amendment show, which most likely will be a two-parter. We're going to do a show on the Federalist Papers. Going to go deep into those and kind of explain exactly what they meant in the Constitution. We're going to do a Bill of Rights shows, like 1 through 10, more in depth. Probably should throw in the 14th Amendment in there because that's very important. Then on the special broadcast side, we had such a great outpouring of feedback and interest in our special report on emergency broadcast. We're going to do a part 2 that's going to go a little more in depth and kind of answer some of the questions that have been brought up on the comment page. And so please continue to comment on there. We're also going to do a special broadcast with Red Dawn, the store and the store owners, on how to put together a survival kit and kind of go over what they do, what they can offer you for your prepping needs. Then we're also going to do a tech show on how to retain your privacy and support the Fourth Amendment while you're surfing the internet, because you have a right and a barrier against illegal search and seizure. So there's certain things you can do. It doesn't make you a terrorist to want all your vital information out in the world for everybody to know. It just makes you a concerned individual about your privacy and your personal identity online. So that's all right. Also, coming down the pipe, we're going to do various other little sundry things with probably a couple more commercials. We put one commercial up for you to embed it on your Facebook page or YouTube page or whatever you want to do. But basically, we did that as a teaser to help draw people to our website, our YouTube page, where if you like our show and you want to support, go ahead and embed that on there. It's short, it's cool. I think it'll have a good impact for us in getting the information out that we want. Please remember, please download all these videos. We'd like a bazillion hits, that would be nice, but what we're really concerned about is making sure that the information gets out there. So download it and share it, put it on CD. Who knows how long the internet's going to be around? Who knows how long we're going to be on YouTube? Sign up for our email so we can continue to send you the shows if something crazy happens. So March is going to be a very interesting month with the NDAA taking effect, indefinite detention of American citizens, the FBI shutting down the DNS servers on March 8th for the internet. Who knows how that's going to affect the internet? Greece is probably going to collapse around the week of the 20th, somewhere in there, 25th, I don't know, but it looks likely. So who knows what kind of impact that's going to have. So it's a very busy time for us. We're trying to do a lot of research, trying to get a lot of things together. We do this in our spare time, and we're just trying to bring the best product we can to you guys for free. So just be praying for us that it continues to go well and that we can get it all together and present it to you guys. So just kind of giving you an idea, this is what we look forward to. It might take us a little bit to get the next thing up, a couple weeks, maybe to the end of March, maybe. I don't know, but we'll be here. We're going to be back. We're going to respond to your posts on the YouTube page. So just feel free to continue to converse with us on there. And any ideas or anything you're interested in, let us know. We'll definitely search it out and put together a show for you. So, anyways, this is Lance on behalf of Cody signing off from the heart of FEMA Region 6. See ya.
Gradenko. How long did it take to get to work?
Is it safe to speak?
Of course. Go on.
The kill time depends upon the weight of the subject. The children were terminated in less than 15 seconds, and the adults took longer, 18 to 42 seconds.
No survivors?
None, Comrade Stalin.
The total dead?
Approximately 840.
My intelligence said there were 877 people in the village. How do you account for this discrepancy?
Inaccurate intelligence?
Enough. Begin full production of the gas.
Already underway, Comrade Stalin.
Meet our newest officer. According to this profile, you should prove useful.
I would like to see that profile.
Give the lieutenant something important to do. That is all, Gradenko.
Forgive me, Comrade Stalin, but there is something else. Outside Torun, we have met with guerrilla resistance. They have blocked the roads into town here and here.
They are enemies of the people. Destroy the town and kill everyone in it. Come, my dear. I have an assignment which requires your special skills.
Let's see how you handle this. Go at once to Turun. Destroy everything and everyone. No prisoners, no survivors. That is all.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Reporting. Affirmative. Comrade?
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. At once. Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Agreed. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Reporting at once. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At once. At once.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Of course. Ready and wait. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Mission accomplished.
trouble, Keniston said, right away. He hung up and stood where he was for a moment, painfully adjusting himself to the realization of how different today was from all the other days of his life. His hands and feet were numb, and his breath steamed faintly in the room. Presently he stirred himself, going hastily to the cellar, where he dug into the dwindling dregs of last winter's coal. Carol was there when he went back up. She wore her fur coat over her night things, and her eyes were heavy and shadowed, as though she had not slept much. "The phone woke me," she said. "Is it—" She did not finish. It was ridiculous to inquire whether the call had brought bad news. They were all existing in a horror dream in which everything was bad. He only told her that Hubble wanted him for a while. Then, a little hesitantly, he put his arms around her. "You're all right now?" he asked. "Yes, Ken, I'm all right." But her voice was remote and tired, and had no life in it. Keniston did not refer to the night before, to the time after the mayor's apocalyptic announcement. Of all the bad moments he had had that day, that one had been the worst. Mrs. Adams did the expected things, which he could cope with by means of brandy and ammonia capsules, but Carol did not. She sat quite still, looking at him in a way that he had never seen before. The mayor had told the full truth about the Industrial Research Laboratory. It had been necessary to explain why Hubbell's statements were authoritative. Keniston wished that he had told Carol about it himself. It seemed an unimportant thing in the face of the world's end, and yet he felt that to her it was not unimportant at all. He could not talk it out with her then, with Mrs. Adams' hysterics dominating everything. And she had not come out to him later, and now, facing her again this morning, Keniston felt unsure of himself and of her for the first time since he had met her. "Stay inside and keep the furnace going," he said. "I'll be back as soon as I can." He kissed her, and she stood there in the circle of his arms, neither yielding nor resisting. He said, almost desperately, "Don't give up, Carol. We'll find an answer to it all somehow." She nodded and said, "Yes, be careful," and turned away. Keniston went out alone into the bitter morning. It was still half dark, for the sullen sun had not quite risen, sprawling in the east like some bloated monster heavy with blood. He refilled the Jeep's radiator, which he had drained the night before. The mill whistles, the delivery trucks, the peremptory voices of locomotives quarreling at the junction, all were gone. Even the children were silent now, afraid of the red, cold dawn. The roses all were dead, and the frost had blackened the summer shrubs and trees. The street seemed empty as Keniston drove the Jeep down Main Street. Middletown had taken on, overnight, the aspect of a tomb. Smoke arose from every chimney, in the houses where the people crouched indoors, peering sometimes with pale faces, framed in frost-rimed glass as the Jeep went clattering by in the silence. From every church he passed came sounds of hymns and praying. The bars, too, were noisy, having apparently defied law to remain open all night. Keniston realized that this town was dying as it stood. Fuel would run out fast, and without it, life could not survive these bitter nights. A feeling of utter hopelessness swept over him. It seemed ironic that Middletown should have come safely through the most staggering cataclysm in history, only to perish miserably of cold. Dimly, in the back of his mind, a thought began to form. It tempered his hopelessness a little, but before he could get it clear, he had made the turn into Vine Street, and the Keystone coal yard lay before him. And at that place in this still and deathly city there was life and noise enough. Policemen and National Guardsmen formed a cordon around the yard and its great black heaps of coal. They faced a crowd, an ugly crowd, still only muttering, but bound for trouble. Keniston saw people he knew in that crowd, people who sat on their front porches in the warm summer nights and talked with neighbors and laughed. Mill hands, merchants, housewives, solid, decent folk, but turned wolfish now with the cold and the fear of dying. Hubbell met him inside the yard. A worried police sergeant was with him, and Borchard, who owned the yard. "They were starting to loot the coal piles," Hubbell said. "Poor devils, it was summer, and they didn't have much fuel. Some of them burned their furniture last night to keep alive." Borchard said anxiously, "We don't want to have to kill anyone, and right now, they'll believe you scientists before anyone else." Hubbell nodded. "You talk to them, Ken. You've gotten to know them better than I have, and they'll trust you more." Keniston said, "The hell they will. And anyway, what'll I say to them? Go home and freeze to death quietly, like gentlefolk, and let's not have any nasty scenes? They'll love that." "Maybe they don't have to freeze," said Hubbell. "Maybe there's an answer to that." The half-formed thought in the back of Keniston's mind leaped forward. He looked at Hubble and knew that the older man had had the same thought, but sooner and clearer. A small flicker of hope began to stir again in Kenniston. "The domed city," he said. Hubble nodded. "Yes, it retains heat to a considerable degree at night. We saw that. That's why the dome was built. How long ago? No matter, it's our only half-warm refuge. We have to go there, Ken, all of us, and soon. We can't go through many more nights here." But will they go? And if they do, what'll happen when they see that city and realize Earth is a dead world? Hubble made an impatient gesture. "We'll have to take care of that when it comes. The thing now is to give these people some hope. Tell them to wait in their homes, that soon they'll be safe. Tell them anything you like, but make them go." Kenniston scrambled up a black ridge of coal to stand above the crowd. From outside the cordon, they snarled at him when he began. But he shouted them down, calling out the names of the ones he knew, ordering them to listen, being masterful while his heart pounded with the same dread that drove the men and women in the street. "Don't talk to us about law when it's the end of the world," yelled a hard-faced woman. "It's the end of nothing unless you lose your heads," Kenniston hammered. "The mayor is arranging now to give you what you want, an answer to how you're going to live and be safe. Your lives and the lives of your families depend on how you cooperate. Go home to your radios and wait for the orders." "Will they give us coal?" shouted a burly mill hand. "Coal, food, everything you need. Nobody's going to cheat anyone. We're all in the same boat. We'll stay in or get out together. Now go home and keep your families together and wait." He called suddenly to the men on guard. "You too, get out of here and report back to your headquarters. The orders coming up are more important than this coal." He climbed back down from the black heap, wondering whether his feeble attempt at psychology would work. Borchard started angry remonstrance about dismissal of the guards, but Hubble shut him up. "It worked," he said. "Look, they're going." As the crowd dispersed, Chief of Police Keimer arrived. His unshaven face was gray from lack of sleep, his eyes red-rimmed. He did not seem to be much excited by the trouble at the coal yard. "We've had a lot more than this on our hands during the night," he said. Kenniston learned then what had gone on in Middletown since the mayor had finished speaking. The deaths from shock, the scattering of suicides, the outbreaks of looting in the downtown streets, quickly checked. A dozen people, mostly drunks, had died of cold. "But the barricades at the edge of town were the worst," Keimer said tiredly. "You know, a good number of people from outside Middletown were trapped here by this thing. They, and some of our own people, gone panicky, tried to stampede out of town." He added as he turned back to his car, "They tell me more than 2,000 people were baptized last night." "We'll go with you to City Hall," Hubble told him. "Yes, you too, Ken. I'll need your help with the mayor." It seemed impossible that the pudgy little mayor could be a problem. He had been so docile, so pathetically eager to take advice and follow orders. But when, in City Hall, Hubble confronted him with the plan to evacuate Middletown, Mayor Gair's face took on a mulish look. "It's crazy," he said. "Take up a whole city of 50,000 people and transport them to another place we don't know anything about? It's insane." "There are enough cars, buses, and trucks to transport the population and supplies. There's enough gasoline to run them." "But this other city, what do we know about it? Nothing. There might be any kind of danger there. No, I was born in Middletown. I've lived here all my life. I've worked hard to get where I am. I just spent $5,000 to redecorate my house, and I'm not going to leave it." He glared at them, and his plump body trembled. Hubble said gently, We're all afraid, Mr. Garrus. It's a hard thing to do. People have their roots, and they can't break them easily all at once. But we must go. We must seek shelter or die." The mayor shook his head. "My wife and daughter, they've been hysterical all night, pleading with me to do something, to make things go as they always have. This has been an awful shock to them. I don't think they could stand any more." "Slap their faces, Mr. Garrus," Hubble said brutally. "This has been a shock to all of us. Now what are you going to do? Will you call in the city council, or won't you?" "I can't. Not on that proposal." Garrus' face crinkled like that of a child about to cry. "Honestly, gentlemen, I can't." Keniston thought of Carol shivering in her fur coat, struggling with the last shovels of coal, and the thought made him grasp Garrus savagely by the shirt front. "All right, don't," he snapped. "The people are waiting for an announcement from you, but I'll make one myself. I'll tell them that there's a way to save them, but that Mayor Garrus won't hear of it. I'll tell them they must die of cold because their mayor won't give up his big fine house with its cellar full of coal. Would you like me to tell them that, Mr. Garrus?" Keniston thought he had never seen a man turn so white. "They'd tear me to pieces," whispered Garrus. "No, no, don't." He looked piteously from one to the other, and then he said, "I'll call in the council." The men of the council reacted, at first, very much as the mayor had done. Keniston did not entirely blame them. The difficulties of uprooting a population of 50,000 and moving it bodily in a short space of time to a place it had never seen nor heard of were enough to daunt anybody. But Hubble's arguments were unanswerable. It was move or die, and they knew it, and in the end the decision was made. A crushed, frightened little man, Mayor Garrus went to make his announcement. On the way to the broadcasting station, Keniston looked at Middletown, the big houses standing lordly on the north side, the little houses in close-set rows with their tiny gardens. It was going to be hard, very hard. The people who lived in those houses would not want to leave them. In a low, tired voice, bereft now of pomposity and guile, the mayor spoke to the people of Middletown. "So, we must leave Middletown temporarily," he concluded. And he repeated the word, temporarily. The domed city out there will be a little cold, too, but not so cold as unprotected Middletown. We can live there until things clear up. Stay by your radios. You will be given instructions. Please cooperate to save all our lives. Please. End of Chapter 5.